Hi there, I'm Stony Thorpe. Welcome to my channel. Over the last month I've been a little passive with regards to YouTube, sorry for that. But today I came across something on the news that really got me going, and not in a good way. I'm not exaggerating when I say that I was literally screaming at the television. So what is it that got me so worked up? Well, it was another blow for freedom of speech in my country in the form of legal convictions for people who made comments online. It showed us once again that we only have freedom of expression until someone takes offense to that expression. So, freedom of speech. It's a pretty big topic, and many people on YouTube make videos about it. Freedom of speech, or rather freedom of expression, describes the right to articulate one's opinions and ideas without fear of government retaliation, censorship, or societal sanction. Yes, this is a right, and every person on earth is entitled to this right, as is recognized in the Universal Declaration of Human Rights that was adopted by the United Nations General Assembly on the 10th of December 1948. This means that you can say, write, and print whatever you want, and no one has a right to do anything against it. Personally, I think this is one of the most important universal human rights. But why, you might ask? Well, first, I think this freedom is one of the most important parts of my personal ideas on liberalism. See, the general Dutch idea of liberalism is I mind my business and you mind yours. So it has less to do with the size of government and more with personal liberty. So for me, Dutch liberalism includes the right to say whatever I want. The idea of freedom of expression is one of the foundations of the Dutch state. We fought a war of independence that lasted 80 years because people wanted to be free and say and believe what they wanted. But my country is not the only one whose existence would be impossible without people saying what they wanted. In fact, most revolutions and independence movements were built on people being able to share thoughts and ideas. Without freedom of expression, there is no dissent. Without free speech, there is no progress. There are of course many more reasons why freedom of speech is crucial for a free society. But maybe the most important one is that it simply feels wrong when you feel you can't express yourself freely. In the current social and political climate, however, freedom of speech is being curtailed, mostly by what I call the terror of the minority. See, the Universal Declaration of Human Rights grants freedom of speech without caveats, as does the Charter of Fundamental Rights of the European Union. But this document also offers member states the freedom to put limits on people's freedom of speech, as was seen of German comedian Jan Boerman, who was charged after making a poem on the Turkish dictator Erdogan. In my country, the Netherlands, the freedom of speech is codified in Article 7 of the Constitution. It states 1. No one shall require prior permission to publish thoughts or opinions through the press without prejudice to the responsibility of every person under the law. 2. Rules concerning radio and television shall be laid down by the Act of Parliament. There shall be no prior supervision of the content of a radio and television broadcast. No one shall be required to submit thoughts or opinion for prior approval in order to disseminate them by means other than those mentioned in the preceding paragraphs, without the prejudice of the responsibility of every person under the law. The holding of performances open to persons younger than 16 of age may be regulated by Act of Parliament in order to protect moral goods. 4. Preceding paragraphs do not apply to commercial advertising. The most important part of this law is the sentence, to the responsibility of every person under the law. What this means is that the legislative branch of government can institute formal laws that limit freedom of expression. In Dutch laws, there's Articles 137 C, D, and E of the criminal law, which criminalizes racism, the incitement of racism, and the publication of racist materials. Articles 131 and 132 criminalize the incitement of violence or other criminal offenses. Then we have Article 261, which criminalizes defamation, Article 262, slander, and Article 266, which criminalizes insults. And finally, there's Articles 111 through 113 that criminalize intentionally insulting the monarch. Yeah, really, that one exists. Anyway, in my country, speech is not really free, nor is it really protected. You can say what you want as long as you don't offend someone. That's not freedom in my opinion. In her Christmas speech of 2006, Queen Beatrix said: Wie anderen beschimpt, verliest zelfgeloofwaardigheid. Het onbeheerste woord schiet zijn doel voorbij. Meaning that freedom of speech does not give you the right to insult people. Which of course is absolute nonsense. Because as Salman Rushdie said, nobody has the right not to be offended. That right doesn't exist in any declaration I have ever read. But over the last decade, there have been some very poignant cases where freedom of speech was put on the back burner in favor of not getting people's feelings hurt. The first case I want to discuss is the one of Gregorius Nekschot, a Dutch cartoonist who made controversial cartoons about Islam, among other things. Gregorius was arrested in 2008 for a cartoon he made in 2005. The arrest happened at the direction of the Interdepartmental Ministerial Werkgroep Cartoonproblematiek, a working group that, like the Orwellian Ministry of Law, inventories so-called problematic cartoons in order to prosecute their creators. And even though most of the legislature was outraged, it took the public prosecutor more than 2 years to drop the charges, even though they maintained that the cartoons were criminal. They didn't prosecute because the cartoons were removed. This, of course, is a blatant and disgusting infringement of the freedom of the press. The second case is the prosecution and conviction of Geert Wilders for insulting a group and inciting racism. Mind you, this is not the 2010 court case about his film Fitna, where he was charged with insulting a group, inciting hate and racism. No, this is a new court case about something that happened during a political rally in 2014. So what happened there, you ask? Well, during his speech, he asked the crowd whether they wanted more or less Moroccans, to which they shouted, less, less, less. Well, obviously, some Moroccans took offense to this, and in 2016 the court case began. On December 9th, Wilders was convicted for insulting a group and incitement of discrimination, but he was acquitted of the charge of incitement of hatred. Wilders said about the trial that it was a fake court and that the conviction was a pre-decided point. Wilders, of course, appealed the conviction and the case will see a continuation in this year. Finally, I want to talk about the case that has my hair standing up on end today. And that's the case of Sylvana Simons. This lady is a washed-up television presenter that sought to regain significance by engaging in the so-called Zwarte Pieten discussie about Black Peter and the St. Nicholas celebrations. In 2016, she joined Turkish nationalist party DENK and continued her odious race baiting. While some people took exception to this, and as is the norm today, started trolling her online. Now some of these trolls were pretty egregious, one man pasting her head onto a video of a KKK lynching, but as a good race baiter, Sylvana actually went to the police, and today 20 of the 22 people who were charged in this case were found guilty. Today there was an opportunity to strike a point for free speech, but the pandering and cowardly judiciary gave in to political correctness. What stings most about this is the hypocrisy. Miss Simons gets to slander all the Dutch people and call us racists. She gets to attack our national holiday and cite free speech. But when some internet trolls make a few racist comments, she gets to abuse the legal system to get even more unwarranted attention. So what's left of free speech in a country where you can get convicted for being an internet troll, but imams can preach hate against gays, women, the local population, and don't get policed? What is free speech when it comes with a caveat? Why does every discussion on free speech end with a but? But you can't insult people. But you can't discriminate. But you can't... No, I say. You can either say anything you want or nothing. Everybody gets policed by the Ministry of Law, or no one. Not just people with opinions that are politically incorrect. Grow a skin, people. Well, that's all I've got to say for today. I hope you liked this video, and I'll see you next time. Peace out and Shadi Lay.